Checking out the stream, man. LSU get the dub 52-35, man. How about that? It was a interesting game in the second half, and they were able to push it past. And Jayden Daniels, man, I mean, he should get that Heisman, man, straight up, man. The guy was fantastic in the game. If it wasn't for him, not even close. But shout out to the fan. Appreciate y'all being in the stream. We go over the recap of the game. LSU improves to 7-3, 5-2 in conference play with a 52-35 point win over Florida in Death Valley. You look at some of the statistics, first down stats for LSU 27-25. LSU, they were 2 of 6 in third down versus Florida's 4 of 13, 0 of 2 from the fourth down for LSU versus 1 of 3 by Florida. 700 yards of offense by LSU today. 701 yards of total offense by LSU. That's ridiculous. And they were awesome, man. 372 to 311 in terms of the passing game. The rushing attempt, LSU over 300 yards rushing the guy. So you had 372 through the air and 329 on the ground by LSU. The majority of that was the guy, Jayden Daniels. Y'all knew who it is. Put on spectacular effort today. Also broke, only player in FBS history, fam, in FBS history to throw for over 300 yards and run for over 200 yards. That's ridiculous, man. Jayden Daniels just continue to do big things in this game. So anyway, let's finish up on the statistics here. You can see 329 by LSU versus 177 by Florida. You look at the penalties, LSU 8 penalties for 63 yards versus Florida 6 penalties for 50 yards. The turnovers 1-1, fumbles 1-1, time of possession, despite the fact that LSU was able to put up 35 points in the second half of the game. They did lose the time of possession battle 34-24 to 25-36 in the game, but it was all Jayden Daniels in this one. After being planted in the matchup against Alabama, Jayden Daniels responds with a hell of a game. 17-26 individual, 17-26, 372 yards of offense through the air by Jayden Daniels. The man averaged over 14 yards every time he threw the ball. He had 3 passing touchdowns in the game. He put on a performance. He also led the team by far, 12 scrambles for 234 yards. He averaged almost 20 yards a scramble. He had 2 touchdowns running and 3 throwing. Just ridiculous. It's one of the longest was an 85-yard scramble. The fastest man on the field at all times is Jayden Daniels. Not only is he fast, but he'd be able to kind of shift in between traffic, make plays happen, and the defense is running. Defensive backs can't keep up with him. It's just ridiculous, man. I looked up his 40 time. I was watching the game, and I said, man, how fast is Jayden Daniels? I looked up his 40 time. They did a 40 time for him back at Arizona State. It was 4.5. And I'm like, no way. Ain't no way in the world. In the 40, he's running a 4.5 in the 40. We know Michael Vick and his 40 time was 4.33 in the 40. So no doubt about it. But he was the man today. He should be given the game ball, breaking stats, breaking records and every damn thing. Brian Thomas put on a hell of a game. Him and Malik Neighbors together had fantastic days, except for Brian Thomas had touchdown, 6 catches, 150, 25 yards per catch. He had 2 touchdowns. Malik Neighbors, 6 catches for 132. No touchdowns, but still big stats. Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors together, two of the country's best wide receivers. I mean, it's ridiculous what these guys are able to do along with Jayden Daniels, who keeps it turning and twisted. Of course, we're going down to LSU's defense, which left a lot to be desired in this matchup. They did give a few stops in the second half for LSU's offense to be able to sprint forward, but my goodness, at the end of the day, LSU has to improve the defense, and I'm thinking Coach Kelly will probably end up doing that through the transfer portal for next year, but we'll have a whole new set of issues to deal with next year. But my goodness, if this defense was halfway as good as our offense, we'd be playing for a national championship, to be honest with you. Omar Spates had 12 tackles in the matchup. Javian Tavania had 10 tackles. Harold Perkins, 8 tackles in the game and a sack in the matchup. Major Burns was the 4th tackle on the team. So it was interesting, man, and they were able to do what they did. And on the other side, Graham Mertz for Florida was 26, 38, 311, had 1 touchdown. And Trevor Etienne had 18 carries for 99 yards. He had 3 rushing touchdowns the brother of ETN, both of those guys of course, out of Louisiana, being traders going to Florida to try to help. But this time around, LSU gets revenge on the Gators, or better yet, they just shut the Gators down, man. In the back half of the game, we're able to take it away from them and win this matchup. So just fantastic, man. No matter how you slice it, uh, LSU was able to get back on the winning side of things with a 52-35 win. Jayden Daniels is spectacular. What can I tell y'all? He's awesome, man, and he just kept it going. So yeah, Rose says your defense is high, y'all, no doubt about it. Damien, shout out to you. Say LSU lost all 3 games to top 10 teams. It shows this team wasn't elite. Fire Matt House as soon as possible. I was watching the game and saying to myself, yeah, they got to retool the defense through the transfer portal. They do have some assets coming in here through a recruiting class. They one thing we know about Brian Kelly since he's been here with LSU is that he works the hell out of the transfer portal. We got Jayden Daniels through the transfer portal from Arizona State. You know, and several other impact players that have LSU's had that they worked through the transfer portal. So the combination of the portal as well as the recruiting should improve what we got going on defensively speaking. But what we have from an offensive standpoint this year was the thing. If we beat Alabama, which we did not do a week ago, we could have definitely been playing for something large. But as you can see tonight against a Florida team who played really stellar, but the defense for LSU misses. They take poor pursuit angles. They miss tackles. It's just an awful, terrible, stanky defense. And unfortunately, it wasted Jayden Daniels' years as we will ultimately play for a bowl game that really don't mean anything. But what it happens is if Jayden Daniels wins the Heisman Trophy, it does help the recruiting class and the recruiting going into the future with Coach Kelly. It does help to get Jayden Daniels a Heisman. And of course, to keep things twisting and turning. But Matt House definitely on the hot seat, in my opinion. They're going to try to say that he needs some more assets to get better. But Matt House, yeah, no doubt about it. Regardless of that, I don't think our defense is that bad the way they're looking. Schematically, it could be an issue. We can't get motivate these guys to play better. Guys are always missing tackles out there. It's not like they're just beat from a talent perspective. It's like these guys missed a lot of tackles, a lot of fundamental issues is breaking down. Perhaps some House is not reaching these guys, and things got to change. So yeah, Rose says the same thing. Matt House has got to go. They need better horses. Also, defense. They're gonna work the hell out of the transfer portal, and we got some recruits coming in tomorrow. So yeah, I mean next year. So Matt House definitely on the hot seat, man. If you're the defensive coordinator for LSU, you got to perform better. Get these guys to perform a lot better than what it is. And of course, we had some issues in the secondary with guys have personal issues down the line and talent that was supposed to step up and do some stuff. You talk about guys like Denver and all these other guys that are not there. So the LSU's just kind of doing the best they can do to piece something together. Damien says it's a shame, Big Q, to lose Dance with all the talent. And yeah, Jayden Dance this year, and really credit them, with them losing these games. Like you look at what Florida State is. Florida State's pretty good. So, even if you gave up that one to open the season up, but losing to, Alabama, that was the one that really kind of hurt you. Because if you beat Alabama, you have a chance to, be in the SEC championship against Georgia, which I think Georgia's not as good as they were last year, but they're still a team that's steamrolling and running down here. They just beat the hell out of Ole Miss tonight, ran over Ole Miss like they wasn't even a thing. So, regardless or not, defense wasn't good enough. Matt House definitely on a hot seat. A lot of people saying fire Matt House. The only question is, will Brian Kelly protect him by saying that we just didn't have enough horses on the defensive side of the ball? House is good. We just need to work the transfer portal and bring in our recruits, and we'll be okay. We'll see how he handle it. But tonight, they got the win, man, and that's the big thing. They improved to 7-3. Next up for the LSU Tigers, we get I ain't gonna insult the team and call them a cupcake. We do get a team that really and shout out to Tulane, man. Tulane was able to get the win. They won 9 in a row, man, as well. But we look at what LSU plays coming up next week. It'll be against Georgia State. 2 games left. Georgia State and Texas A&M. Both games are in Death Valley. So we have 3 straight, including it. This is the matchup right here. As you can see, the matchup indicator got LSU running away with it. Georgia State lost tonight. I think they've lost 3 or 4 games in a row. They lost to Appalachian State, App State tonight. And this is our cupcake late in the year that we'll kind of look at doing what we got to do to kind of run these guys out of here. So it should be an absolute beatdown as Georgia State Panthers roam into Death Valley. And they come out of the Sun Belt. They are currently what is it, seventh place in the Sun Belt there. And we take no teams for granted, but this should be an absolute mauling in this game as we take these guys apart and handle the business. So anyway, with that being said, man, listen, yeah, Green Wave done a wonderful job, man. Winning 9 in a row, and we'll see where they stand is at 9-1 moving forward. But yeah, Tulane, and that'll be fun to watch Tulane and LSU play this year. You know, Tulane might actually give them that business, man. You know, because Tulane's defense is actually pretty decent, man. It's better than LSU, so it'll be interesting if they did play how that would look. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, down the line, LSU should come out against Georgia State. They should flatten Georgia State, and then we got Texas A&M, not in Texas, but in Death Valley, and hopefully they can close out and they're looking to kind of finish up the season along with the bowl win and pick up 10 wins. And that's what Coach Kelly was saying. We get the 10 wins and we play at that high level. We do what we're supposed to do. All right. So with that being said, man, listen, great win today by LSU. It took us a little bit to get there, but Jayden Daniels, my goodness, shout out to Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels was absolutely awesome. He was special in this game, breaking records, running around, doing things. And they kept showing the statistics in tonight's game about the fact that LSU, Jayden Daniels, with LSU having 3 losses, he's, this, that, and the third. But they showed 3 quarterbacks that won the Heisman that had 3 losses. They showed Tim Tebow, they showed RG3, and they showed Lamar Jackson. That's 3 pretty interesting quarterbacks that were able to go on and win the Heisman. And I'm saying with 2 games left, could you imagine what kind of performance Jayden Daniels does against Georgia State? And I'm pretty sure with those type of games, he doesn't finish them. They usually kind of take them out at a certain point. Then Gary Nussmeier gets in, and then of course we close out against Texas A&M, and then we'll get the bowl game. But yeah, we almost at the tail end of our season, man. In college football, this entire year has been interesting. We just needed our defense to step up and win the day for us, and in terms of the season, and we just couldn't get it done in the games that really matter, man. So squandering Jayden Daniels in his final year hurts a little bit, but in the end, I'm so proud of him. People ask me, where does he fit in the draft queue if he wins the Heisman Trophy? Even if he doesn't win the Heisman Trophy, there are several candidates that's on this LSU team on the offensive side of the ball that are first-round draft picks. Jayden Daniels, to me, a lot of people thinking he's not a first-round draft pick. He's definitely a first-round draft pick quarterback in my book. I think we talk about Joey Burrow and how good Joey was with that very talented LSU team that just mopped up college, ran through the entire college season like it was a nothing. Jayden Daniels, I'm not going to say he's better than Joey Burrow, but the guy is the fastest guy on the field. He gets yardage one moment and it's over with. He's running up the field 85 yards for a score. And then what really has impressed me about Jayden Daniels' game from last year to this year is that his accuracy has been awesome. The fact that he didn't play a lot of practice, this past week coming into this matchup, you can see some of his passes fail because there were a couple of plays where, like the pass to Mason Taylor toward the right sideline that he missed on, or the other pass upfield where he simply overthrew the guy. There were several throws, or the corner throw early on to Brian Thomas Jr. That was to the left corner, and he just kind of missed him right there. Had he been in practice getting that accuracy, you believe that would have definitely been hits. But his accuracy's improved a great deal. He gets the ball out. He has great pocket awareness. And listen, he's not as, he'll pick up weight and strength at the next level, but Jayden Daniels is not a fragile quarterback. He takes hits, he scrambles around, and he makes things happen. The guy's a playmaker. He's a threat every play, and you got to respect his mind. And we talk about the statistics that he had, and I don't understand why he shouldn't be a Heisman Trophy candidate with the 2 games remaining against Georgia State and the one against Texas A&M. In the bowl game, of course, we looking at Jayden Daniels, man, should be one of the guys. I know about Penix and the other guy, Bo Nix, they throwing him up there. But his statistics at the end of the day will be better than those guys. But Penix is really good. But I just think Jayden Daniels is a guy that is at that level, man, playing at a very high level as a quarterback. So, All right. So with that being said, man, we're gonna get one in there, then we're gonna bounce out. All right. David says, Q, who you want the Saints to pick? He says, would you want the Saints to pick him, and do he fits the Saints style? He does. You can. Jayden Daniels is a guy that you can utilize in many different ways. Like he's a leader. Like Jayden Daniels is a guy that a lot of people like. You know, he's a natural born leader. He's a positive personality. He's a coachable guy, and he's a class guy. Like he's a guy that knows what he's doing. He's very intelligent. You know, he's astute, and he's a prideful guy. And then, of course, the fact that he's a playmaker. He's a threat every time. And we can't. And ultimately, it's a difference. I can't compare him and Taysom Hill together. What I'm saying is, when you get a guy like Jayden Daniels, I don't know if the Saints will pick Jayden Daniels. I don't. I would have to say no, that the Saints will not pick Jayden Daniels up in the first round next year, or even the second round if there's some kind of way he slides to the second round. I do not think the Saints will end up taking Jayden Daniels and making him a quarterback with after, well, when he does make it to the draft this upcoming year, Derek Carr would be 3 years left on his remaining contract, which wouldn't be a bad pickup because Jameis Winston is a free agent. He's going to ultimately end up leaving. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a Jayden Daniels. I just don't think Saints have the imagination to pull the trigger on a guy like that. They might be looking at trying to get an offensive lineman to help Derek Carr out or pick up somebody like that. But I really don't see them getting those guys. I mean, I'd be really surprised if they do. I would want them to. I would really want them to, because you can still utilize him in many of these plays. Like you can draft Jayden Daniels next year if you're the Saints. Like if Taysom Hill got 1 year left on his contract, somebody steps up and want to pay a lot of money for Taysom Hill. Let's say somebody like Sean Payton from Denver says he wants to bring Taysom Hill to Denver, so he spends a lot of money to get him there. The Saints can't match him. He leaves. Jayden Daniels is in the first round or whatever. He probably a top 10 guy, but let's say he falls to wherever the Saints end up at. The Saints are smart enough to draft the guy if he falls that far, which is, I don't think it happens, but if he, let's say for the sake of this scenario that he does fall to you and you take him, you can still utilize Jayden Daniels in your offense. Like you could put him in there to run certain plays, just like you do a Taysom Hill. But his play packages would be his RPO packages would be way better than Taysom. Now he wouldn't give you the power and physicality that Taysom Hill does, because he doesn't need to. He will give you a person that can get in there and run a really good RPO package where he'll scramble off and run. He's accurate enough to make the throw, so he'll be a dual threat guy. He would be what you want Taysom's package to be, like a guy that can throw the ball and run the ball and set up a second offense inside of the same in the same offensive room, and it create two problems that the defensive coordinator would have to plan for every week. But I don't think that scenario plays out. I don't think Jayden Daniels will fall to the Saints unless they really stink. I think somebody's going to end up taking that kid, and he's going to be phenomenal, man. We know Caleb Williams is another dude that could be first round. That will be a first round draft pick. Michael Penix is another interesting. Bo Nix. I don't think he's a first round draft pick quarterback. I think he probably will slide somewhere toward into the second round. But if Jayden Daniels is there in the second round and maybe a bottom first round, second round pick, depending on how they see him. But he's really a quarterback. And you can't say that he's a wide receiver, because most of them like to try to convert him to a wide receiver. But the guy's accurate. He can move around. He make plays, and he's dangerous. So I would definitely think that he would be somebody that you would want to add to your offense, man, because if Taysom leaves, you get Jayden there. If you're fortunate enough to fall to you, get him, you can still utilize an RPO style play set for him, and it'll be a lot better than the Taysom set, because the guy can actually throw. He's accurate and he can run as well. He's not nearly as powerful as Taysom is, but Jayden Daniels can run a second offense, and then eventually, when Carr gets out of the way, Jayden Daniels could take over and be the future of the team. So yeah, it'll be a special thing if that actually happens. But he's ready for the primetime guy, playing a wonderful, wonderful brand of football. Like, let's look at his statistics, family, or where he is. I want to say, I don't know if this is updated right here, but he's just a person, man. You watching out for. It's just, the dude is special, man. The dude is special. What he does, what he brings. He got good height, 6'4", 210, kind of a lanky kid. Now he would have to tack on a little weight there, maybe another 10 pounds of weight, but he's not fragile. He could play. But it'll be interesting to see something like that actually occurs, man, to be honest with you. But anyway, man, listen, I appreciate y'all watching the stream with me. Yeah, the guy from North Carolina too. Yeah, it'll be. They got a nice little crop of quarterbacks, but in the end, I hope Jayden Daniels gets that Heisman Trophy, man, because man, he most certainly earned it. If we had a defense, things would be different. I promise you that much. So anyway, with that, let me get on out there. Listen, I appreciate all y'all for chiming on this episode of Tough Tiger Talk as we recap the matchup between LSU and Florida. LSU gets the dub over Florida. They smash them out and behind Jayden Daniels' spectacular effort, 52-35, man. And we move on against Georgia State in Death Valley. So let me get on out with that. Y'all hit the like button, the subscribe button, and feel free to share the show on your social media. I'll be back on the Sports Coma tomorrow for the 11:45 pregame show heading into the noon Eastern time. I mean the Central noon matchup against the Saints and the Vikings. I'll be doing play-by-play like I customarily do on the Sports Coma channel. I'm gonna holler at y'all on the flip side. Much love. Go Tigers.
Subscribe to the Tough Tiger Talk channel and stay up to date for all